Revisiting tragedy on the campaign trail today, Ontario Liberal leader Kathleen Wynne stumping in Walkerton. The town was affected by a deadly water contamination outbreak in 2000, one that killed 6 people. The E. coli spread happened while the PC Party's Mike Harris was in power. Wynne today tried to link current PC leader Tim Hudak's planned jobs cuts to Harris's terrible Walkerton tragedy, even distributing copies of the Walkerton Inquiry Report at the event.
Remember, 100,000 jobs is more than twice the number that Mike Harris removed from our system. So I just think it's very important that we understand that we have to ask what the consequences of making a decision like that would be.
Paige McPherson is on the Ontario election beat for us, and she joins us now live in our Toronto newsroom. All right, Paige, certainly an interesting decision for the Wynne campaign team to be in Walkerton, especially politicizing the disaster that happened there less than a decade ago. So break down for us what happened today and how the PCs are reacting.
Yeah, definitely a controversial move, Beatrice. When we learned that Kathleen Wynne was going to be visiting Walkerton today, you know, of course, there were a lot of questions. Is she going to bring this up? But the Liberals, as you mentioned, went so far as to actually distribute copies of the Walkerton report from Justice O'Connor to the media that were there. So obviously making that direct link between PC cuts and those 6 tragic deaths that occurred back in 2000. Obviously, Kathleen Wynne's main line of the day there really was cuts have consequences. And of course, she also made an announcement about the Walkerton Clean Water Centre, announcing that she was going to be giving the centre $3 million a year for the next 10 years. Now, I'll mention, though, that the Walkerton Clean Water Centre already does receive $3 million a year from the government. That actually decreased from $4 million a year from the year before. And the centre is actually doing quite well financially. They have about $10 million in the bank, so leaving it open to a lot of questions from people about whether or not this was actually necessary or whether it was a political decision. Now, of course, the person front and center calling that out would be PC leader Tim Hudak, who responded to this today, saying that he was surprised to see Kathleen Wynne campaigning on this and saying that it seemed like familiar tactics. Here's what Hudak had to say.
We all know as Ontarians that Walkerton was a tragedy. But I think it's rather sad to see the Premier of Ontario trying to take advantage of that for political gain. I expected better from Kathleen Wynne. I'm very disappointed. That sounds like the kind of tactic that Dalton McGuinty would use. I guess it's just more of the same.
So, Beatrice, as I mentioned, you know, there was a lot of surprise, I guess, that they did go there. And this is all taking place in the riding of Huron-Bruce. That's a riding that the Liberals lost in 2011. There was a lot of controversy there over their windmill programs. And so it is a riding that they're perhaps not very likely to pick up in the next election, according to most of the political analysis that I've seen. So that obviously making it a little bit easier there for the PCs to call into question the political tactics. Obviously, though, a bold move from Kathleen Wynne in supporting her campaign, saying that cuts, you know, are not the answer. So
there is a third party in play here as well, Paige. And just very quickly, what did Andrea Horwath have to say about the situation? She was just on Straight Talk here with Adrian Batcher just a short while ago.
She was, Beatrice, and I also caught up with Andrea Horwath when she was just out in the hall running out here today, and I asked her, you know, what is your reaction to this? Do you find it's in poor taste in the same way that Tim Hudak is saying? Andrea Horwath said, look, Kathleen Wynne's going to make her own decisions about where she's going to campaign. She's going to have to face the judgment from the voters when it comes to her campaign locations and stops. So definitely a very political answer there, not really wanting to get involved in what obviously is looking like a PC Liberal tiff here, but definitely a bold move that's been called into question by a number of people at this point, Beatrice.
Thanks so much for breaking this down for us, Paige.
Thank you.
That's Paige McPherson joining us live from our Toronto newsroom.